Hello guys, welcome to my channel No Tension Programming. Today we learn about Object-Oriented Language System and Procedural Languages. OOPS stands for Object-Oriented Programming System. OOPS is a programming approach or technique in which certain concepts are given to create the program of any programming language. If any language follows or implements the concept of OOPs can be said Object-Oriented Programming Language. OOPS concepts are just description or theory to create the program of any programming language. It is the duty of the programming language to implement these concepts. Majorly, there are three concepts of OOPS: P, polymorphism, inheritance, encapsulation. P, polymorphism to abstraction. I, inheritance to composition and aggregation. E, encapsulation to object and class. Example: OOPs is like recipe book for creating programs. What is procedural programming? Procedural programming is a programming paradigm that focuses on the step-by-step process or procedures that a program should follow to achieve a specific goal. In procedural programming, a program is divided into procedures, also known as functions or subroutines, which contain a series of computational steps to be carried out. Here's an explanation of some key features and concepts of procedural programming languages. 1. Procedures/functions. Procedures are the building blocks of procedural programming languages. They encapsulate a set of instructions that perform a specific task. These procedures can take input parameters and produce output. 2. Top-down design. In procedural programming, programs are often designed and structured in a top-down manner. This means that the main problem is broken down into smaller, more manageable subproblems, which are further broken down into smaller procedures until they are simple enough to be easily implemented. 3. Modularity. Procedural programming promotes modularity by breaking down the program into smaller, reusable modules or functions. This enhances code readability, maintainability, and reusability. 4. Sequential execution. Procedures are executed sequentially, meaning that the instructions within a procedure are executed one after another in the order they are written. 5. Variables. Procedural programming languages typically use variables to store and manipulate data. These variables have a defined scope, which determines where in the program they can be accessed. 6. Imperative programming. Procedural programming is often considered imperative programming, as it focuses on describing how a program should accomplish a task through a series of imperative statements or commands. Examples of procedural programming languages include C, Pascal, and BASIC. These languages provide constructs and syntax specifically designed to support the procedural programming paradigm. Let's talk about difference between OOPS and procedural programming. Object-oriented programming, OOP, and procedural programming are two different programming paradigms, each with its own approach to structuring code and solving problems. Here are some key differences between them. 1. Paradigm focus. Procedural programming focuses on procedures or functions that operate on data. It emphasizes the use of procedures or functions to manipulate data. Object-oriented programming focuses on objects that encapsulate data and behavior. It emphasizes modeling real-world entities as objects with properties, data, and methods, behavior. 2. Data and code encapsulation. Procedural programming. Data and procedures are separate entities. Data is typically stored in variables and procedures operate on this data. Object-oriented programming, data and behavior are encapsulated within objects. Objects contain both data, attributes or properties, and behavior, methods or functions. Objects communicate by sending messages to each other. 3. Inheritance. Procedural programming typically does not support inheritance directly. Code reuse is achieved through functions or procedures. Object-oriented programming supports inheritance, allowing objects to inherit properties and behaviors from parent objects, classes. This promotes code reuse and allows for the creation of hierarchies of objects with specialized behavior. 4. Polymorphism. Procedural programming, achieved through techniques like function overloading or using function pointers. It's generally more limited compared to OOP. Object-oriented programming supports polymorphism, where objects of different classes can be treated as objects of a common superclass. This allows for more flexible and modular code. 5. Encapsulation and abstraction. Procedural programming emphasizes breaking down a problem into smaller procedures. Data hiding and abstraction are less explicit. Object-oriented programming emphasizes encapsulation, where objects hide their internal state and only expose a public interface. Abstraction allows complex systems to be modeled more easily by focusing on essential characteristics while hiding implementation details. 6. Example languages. Procedural programming. Languages like C, Pascal, and BASIC. Object-oriented programming. Languages like Java, C++, Python, and Ruby. In summary, while procedural programming focuses on procedures and data separation, object-oriented programming emphasizes objects, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism to model real-world entities more effectively and promote code reuse and maintainability.